If I was to ask most people to describe a real-life alien, the majority would describe a typical gray. They're little guys, with the ones most popular in alien lore standing around 3 feet tall, big heads, no ears, 3 to 4 fingers, real scrawny looking, emanating a foul odor. Some refer to them as humanoid beings with a soul, yet others describe them as a biological robot, sent to carry out tasks on behalf of another. In truth, there are a vast number of different races of gray alien, and life in general is teeming out in the universe in many forms. With that said, do you think you could take one in a fight? Hey friends, welcome back to Cosmic Hypnosis. I'm Bob, a hypnotherapist, Andromedan Starseed, and ET contactee. In this video, we're asking Morton, an Andromedan Science Officer, how both a typical Earth human as well as an extraordinary Earth human, such as Conor McGregor or Francis Ngannou, would fare in a fight against an alien. Not only does Morton share how one would stack up, but he goes into detail on what he wants you to do if you were to run into an unknown ET, and how to attempt to successfully fight off an alien abduction attempt from a negative group. Not only is his answer interesting, but it may come in handy one day. Here's Morton.
Could an Earth human take an alien in a fight? Say a typical gray, for example.
No, an Earth human has no chance against a typical gray in a fight. Not a chance. While typical grays, they're very small. They don't look like they could do a whole lot in battle. Yeah, absolutely. But an Earth human, traditional Earth human, we're talking someone who is not Bob and who is not a starseed and who is not in the secret space program. With that said, there's layers to the secret space program. Some people are more proficient than others, and that goes with starseeds as well. There are some starseeds that have very strong psychic and telepathic abilities, and some don't. Some have the insight into those abilities like Bob does, some don't. And with that said, many starseeds don't even realize that they are indeed starseeds. So there are layers to this as well. But if you run into an extraterrestrial, and they are negative, we strongly suggest you quickly turn around and you get the fuck out of there. And someone would say, well, how do I know that this extraterrestrial is not friendly? Well, there are a few ways to tell. One, you can tell by your fight or flight response. A traditional interaction with a negative group, you are going to feel the negativity. You are going to feel something is off, and you are going to feel your instincts telling you to run. With that said, you may feel the same around a positive extraterrestrial, but if you come in close enough proximity to a positive extraterrestrial, they will be sending you white light, and they will be sending you, a positive stream of thought where, do not fear, everything is fine, we are not going to attack you. And there's a very high probability that a positive extraterrestrial would take those memories from you so that you do not even have memory of the encounter, because it is our goal to have you leave the encounter as relaxed and relieved and at ease as possible. Now, there are some beings, starseeds of our races or a couple other races, that we allow to remember certain things, such as our ship, for example. But it is extremely rare that you would just run into one of us on the ground. It would not happen. It is much higher probability that you would run into a negative extraterrestrial. And the other way to tell that a negative extraterrestrial is negative is they do things like shoot at you or hunt you, or they could be, and the most obvious fear that you would have to be concerned about is them telepathically taking you over, or rendering you unconscious telepathically and then taking your body on the ship, or having other negative plans with you. With that said, there are certain people who would be listening to this who would say, well, an extraterrestrial is tiny in comparison to somebody like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, for example. Couldn't The Rock take an extraterrestrial in a fight? Or Conor McGregor, or Kamaru Usman, or Francis Ngannou? Like, couldn't they take an extraterrestrial in a fight, a typical gray? Absolutely, unequivocally, no. Not a fucking chance. A 3-foot gray would dominate Francis Ngannou in a fight because he could mentally take Ngannou over. Ngannou wouldn't even be able to move. He wouldn't even remember this even happening. You have no chance in a fight against an extraterrestrial. But with that said, if you do come in and you can't run from an extraterrestrial, we recommend you stand your ground and you are very adamant. No, you will not take me over. You will not control my thoughts. Get out of my head. I do not consent. Fuck you. And you fight. You fight. Mentally, you fight. You scream mentally. You lock them out as best you can. You put up a fight. You throw your fists. You kick. And at your earliest opportunity, run. You see an opening, run. Do not look back. Do not stop. Run. That is our recommendation. Once they have you on the craft, anything can happen. Some groups will take you and not bring you back. Some groups will bring you back. You won't remember the event 100% in your daily life, but you will have dreams. You will have memory bleed through. The memories will come back, much like Bob's memories in Solar Warden and other memories. And then when you try to go to people to talk, no one's going to believe you. But it's something that you can get healing through modalities like hypnotic regression. Events like such as QHHT sessions, we highly recommend you do something like that to work through these emotions, to work through these experiences and get insight, such as how do I avoid these interactions in the future? How do I avoid these groups? Is this something I agreed to work with? Or is this just I ran into these dudes in the woods? It's important to get that insight and really know, is this a one-off experience or are they coming back? And if they're coming back, how do I fight? How do I prepare? How do I end this? How do I end the contract? So if you're somebody who has had this experience, go get a regression. And if you're somebody who has had many negative experiences with extraterrestrials, go get a regression. Find that insight. Ask the necessary questions. And then make the necessary adjustments in your life to avoid those interactions in the future. But, yeah, our strongest suggestion, run.
Okay. How does someone put up enough of a fight then against an ET group to make it not worth it for them to pick you up?
Well, there's an extremely high probability that a negative extraterrestrial group is going to put you into a waking slumber that's going to be similar to a twilight sleep for, say, anybody who has had a colonoscopy. This is a great comparison where you're able to move and sort of speak back to the doctor, but you can't really you have no idea what's going on. You're not really there. That is basically the equivalent of a negative extraterrestrial abduction. So at that point, there's not a whole lot you can do. But before that point, when you first run into them, if you're in close enough proximity, give one of those dudes a top in the chop and a chop in the bottom and just punch that motherfucker right in the throat as hard as you can and then fucking run. And if you get the opening, fight. And if you can't fight, scream. And if you can't scream, scream mentally. They can hear you. And if you don't shut up, they will still hear you. Make it so wildly inconvenient for them to pick you up that they let you go. Because at the end of the day, you're just a human. And while you do have a soul that came from somewhere else, and they may have interest in you because of your soul lineage, where you're from, for example, there's a very high probability that they are just picking up somebody that they want to examine, and they might say, you know what, fuck it. We don't want to pick Tim up. Let's go get Joe. Joe doesn't put up a fight, but Tim, man, that guy, every time we pick him up, he punches us, he kicks us, he bites us, he fights us, he screams at us, he yells at us in his head. Not worth my time. They would rather just pick up humans that they could just, put in a twilight sleep, do their work, come back, drop them off, do their experiments, maybe put a device on you, a tracker or whatever they're doing, drop you off. The more inconvenient you make it for them, the less they're interested in doing anything to you. That is our suggestion. If you can scream, scream. If you can't scream out loud, scream mentally. If you can't scream mentally, fight. If you can't fight, run. If you can't run, endure. And at the first moment, fight. That is our suggestion.
As always, a big thanks to our patrons for your ongoing support of the channel, allowing us to do this work, and to you for checking out our content. To hear more insight from our ET friends, check out our detailed playlists here on the channel, and head over to our Patreon for the stuff that we can't release publicly on YouTube, as well as membership tiers featuring discounts on your next session with us. If you're interested in finding out your purpose for incarnating on Earth, where your soul comes from, how you can best navigate your life, and hearing ideal advice by you for you, check out the links in the description for booking a session with Alysse or myself today. We look forward to learning and growing with you. I'll talk to you in the comments and see you in the next one.